Hope everyone had a fantastic Thanksgiving. Corbet's Corner is back on a Monday with a ton to get to. Yes, we are back. Exciting episode. At the end of this, we are going to be talking with Coach Ben Wollenzien, head coach of TGU football up in Towner, North Dakota. A little background. Yeah, so I was obviously a radio sports broadcaster, out of college, went up to small town North Dakota, worked there for just under a year, and really got to really learn about football from Coach Wollenzien, getting the chance to cover every one of his games and interview him on a weekly basis. And we still keep in touch to this day. So really great interview. We talked to him about his coaching over 2 decades as a coach, right, of the storied TGU football program. So excited to have you all hear that and get some insight on not only his career, but also his lifelong Husker football fandom and what he thinks about the current state of the program under Scott Frost. So that's coming up this episode. Excited to talk to Coach Wollenzien. But let's start with NFL football. The Rams are winless with OBJ. The curse of OBJ is going to kill my Matt Stafford MVP future. He's going to kill the Rams' chances of doing anything this year. Winless, even out of the bye, they couldn't do anything. Packers are legit. My goodness. Keep an eye out for Rodgers sneaking up. You know, he's all of a sudden people are not liking him. Oh, he's an anti-vaxxer. He misses a game. And lo and behold, he is still leading his team to win after win. They're a cover machine this year, and the numbers are looking good. He did miss a game, but interceptions are low, touchdowns are high. He is winning big games, and they may very well represent the NFC once again for a second straight year. Could that mean Rodgers hoists the MVP for a second straight year? Pats, everyone loves the Patriots this year. I'm still not sold on them. They still have, I mean, I'm sold on them being a good team. I don't know if I'm ready to crown them AFC champs yet. They've got the Bills on Monday Night Football and still 2 games against the Bills remaining in that division. They might not even win the division still. Bills bounce back in a big way. People might have forgot because it was on Thanksgiving, the late game. Everyone's, passed out from too much wine by the time that game ended, right? Pats are undefeated on the road, 5-0. Mac Jones is the best completion percentage in the league, but that's the Patriots' MO. Dink, dunk. He does look good, and he's a rookie quarterback. He certainly looks loads ahead better of everyone and way more progressed in terms of just figuring out NFL defenses a little bit under Belichick and McDaniel's tutelage. But again, we're going to have a rookie win the Super Bowl here. I don't know about that. The Pats still do have an interesting road left, a pretty tough schedule. We'll see. But, of course, they rout the Titans, who are all of a sudden going back down without Derrick Henry. Tannehill does not look like the quarterback that they gave all that money to because Derrick Henry is not in his backfield. Vikings, Falcons, Eagles, the Washington football team, which goes tonight. And how about the 49ers have ripped off 3 straight? They just beat the Vikings. Vikings were injury decimated, though. And they found a way to lose a 1-score game once again. But those are going to be the teams battling for spots 6 and 7. It's just, remember we add the extra playoff team and it's just mush getting there. We've got the extra game too, 17-game season. Can't believe the Falcons are finding a way in it. They played just a sleepy game in Jacksonville and ended up winning. They've got the Bucks this week. They got blown out by the Bucks. Do they maybe, as the Bucks are playing closer games, looking a little bit more vulnerable, can the Falcons get to 500, maybe be that last playoff team by clipping the Buccaneers? I always like to think division games, it usually goes 1-1 split. But then again, you look at the Bengals and the Steelers got blown out twice by the team from Cincinnati. So the NFL's just been as crazy as ever. I still think it's kind of like too early to tell, but then also you still kind of rely on the Bucks and the Bills. At least I am, as my prediction so far. The AFC standings could still shake out so many different ways because you've got 2 of the best teams in the AFC battling in the same division. So no matter what, whoever's going to finish second in the AFC East is no matter what going to be a 5, 6, or 7 seed, right? Probably a 5 seed based on record, but they're not going to get a home game because they didn't win their division. So that is obviously what people are kind of keeping an eye on, and still 2 games left between the Pats and Bills. Game 1 this season will be Monday Night Football this week. So I'm jacked about that. The NFL just been crazy. So yeah, the Rams, they've got a brutal schedule and the OBJ curse is real. Are they going to free fall now that the 49ers are looking like a little bit more of themselves, a little bit better team now? I don't know. That's interesting. The Pack and the Bucks, the Packers and the Bucs are going to fight for that 1 seed. I think the Packers just keep on winning. They have been in the NFC title game back-to-back years. The Bucs, big time win, come from behind fashion against the Colts. Leonard Fournette goes off for 4 total touchdowns. It was crazy. Hope you had him in fantasy. And the Bucs are legit, right? It's a crap division. The Falcons are in second place right now in the NFC South. I'm just kind of hoping as a fan, right? This Falcons game this week, and that could totally easily be a Bucs blowout. And again, the Saints look terrible now with Trevor Siemian at quarterback, and Carolina is just a disaster. Cam Newton, it's just like Anthony Edwards. So Cam Newton gets a touchdown. He trends on social media forever, even though whenever he plays bad, it's just crickets. Anthony Edwards has a dunk, and that's all we talk about all night. And then he loses to the Hornets, looks terrible, and then it's just crickets from everyone. But then social media just loves their guys. It's all about clicks. And usually it's highlight plays, right? That's why Cam Newton, when he is a 6'5" quarterback bulldozing into the end zone, that gets a lot of viewers, a lot of eyes. Anthony Edwards putting down a windmill with no one around is going to get some eyes to a game. Otherwise, that not too many people are watching Timberwolves basketball on the reg, right? And Cam all about the highlights. But MVP race, watch out for Rodgers to go back to back, as I was alluding to earlier. Here's how this might not be. Again, you're going to find different odds at different spots, but here's where I saw the current MVP odds. First, my update. Stafford, OBJ's killing him. Look at he got the touchdown last night, but too many targets and not enough receptions in that category, right? They're forcing it to OBJ. It was a problem in New York. It was a problem in Cleveland, and it's early on looking like a problem in LA. But thank goodness LeBron brought him to LA, right? I still like Stafford. I still like Brady. And now I'm throwing Rodgers in there as my top 3 for MVP. Here is how the place I found the odds currently lists the MVP. Brady at 225. Plus 225. Brady is currently the chalkiest, so to speak, on this book I was looking at. Josh Allen, second. I mean, I guess if he wins the division, but he hasn't been playing well lately. I don't know why you would put him at second right now. That doesn't make much sense to me. Rodgers, again, he's third. That's showing you he's making a move. Rodgers, I think plus 550. If I didn't have Stafford tickets, I might be looking at that right now. Mahomes is going to put up numbers. Chiefs are winning games now. He's at plus 900, currently 4th on the board at this spot for MVP I looked at. And then Prescott, Dak, Kyler, and Stafford are all at 1,200, 12-1. So Stafford's slipping, obviously, as he was 5-1 a couple of weeks ago when I grabbed him. And then they've got, rounding it out, Lamar Jackson. Look at the game he just tossed out last night. I'm sorry. No, I know the rushing yards and the touchdowns are there, but no, he's too far out for me, even though the the Ravens are on top of their division. That division is still, I think, wide open in the AFC North. Everyone kind of is mushing right there. But if you want to throw Lamar Jackson because of the rushing numbers, maybe. Interesting here, Jonathan Taylor running away with the rushing title right now. He leads the league in rushing touchdowns with 14, and he is at 16-1 with Justin Herbert. Herbert's, they just threw a dud out there. I don't even think the Chargers are going to make the playoffs. Herbert still maybe a year away from kind of taking the entire NFL by storm. He's got the talent. We see it. But in terms of MVP, maybe still just a year away. So those are the current odds. Interesting. I still like Stafford, Brady, and Rodgers, but in terms of momentum, Aaron Rodgers is certainly on the way up. Let's talk a little NBA. Still too close to call as we're kind of in 20 games into the season. The East is with some improved teams, but still everyone's just kind of condensed together. The West is a little bit more top heavy, so to speak. You're kind of taking shape. The Pelicans, Rockets are terrible, etc. In terms of the Eastern Conference, it's kind of like the Magic and the Pistons not really doing anything. Thunder in the West are going to take out some good teams on a given night and then get blown out on a different night. But here's the teams we know that are good. The Warriors, Steph, they're going to get Clay back. They're at the top of the Western Conference. Warriors are good. Steph's obviously done it before, even without KD. The Suns, 16 straight winners for the Suns. They had the easy road to the finals last year where they coughed up a 2-0 lead. Looks like they're still hungry. They still got they're running it back, right? CP3, Book, and DeAndre Ayton. Bucks are all of a sudden winners of 6 or 7 straight in a row. They did have a little bit of that hangover, but now they're right back in it, and it's them and the Nets for the East. The Heat with Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler, Hero back to looking like the guy we saw in the bubble. Heat, Bucks, Nets, we know are good. Bulls, nice story. Yes, I will admit I was wrong because I didn't think they're a playoff team. They're going to be a playoff team because there's 10 teams fighting for it now in the NBA with this play-in tournament, but 5-5 over their last 10. They're starting to come back down to earth a little bit. DeRozan was looking like an all-NBA player. Now he's looking a little bit more like an all-star. Levine has sort of outplayed him a little bit. They're going to need everyone to click on all cylinders for them to be at the top of the East. I think they're going to be like the Knicks. They're going to be a playoff team, maybe a 4-5. Do they get bounced in the first round? Do they maybe make a run like the Hawks? I don't know. Still too early to call. We shall see. Let's talk Timberwolves. How about this? 10-10. They're the same team. I mean, here's where I'd like to see what they could do anything, because they've lost against good teams, and then they've run through like the Kings, the Grizzlies, and then they do have wins over like the Bucks, and then that's the 76ers. But I thought they were going to beat the 76ers regardless. Ant Edwards has improved in terms of scoring, but he's still the same player. He's a scorer. He's a dunker. He's just not very efficient. Turnovers way up. That's got to be something that is not enjoyable for Ant fans. But the scoring is up. The rebounds tick up. Like, he has improved. The shooting percentages, that's good. He's still not a great defender. He's fine. LaMelo's still better. He's more efficient. He's not worried about the dunks. He's averaging 20 points per game. Edwards is averaging 22 points per game, but he's got more rebounds than Edwards. He's got way more assists than Edwards, and he's a way better, more efficient player than Edwards. He's a better player. That's just how it is. The Hornets are a better team because of LaMelo Ball. That was a worse roster last year, and they were still better. That was a worse roster, arguably, this year. I mean, D'Lo and Cat, right? Depends how much you root for them. But these are two similar teams, and clearly LaMelo is taking one team to the next height, and Anthony Edwards has improved them to a 500 team at this point. But again, we'll see how they do in December, because that is going to be I was looking at their schedule. You're going to face a tough opponent night in and night out. You're not going to have this stretch where it's the Pelicans, Kings, Grizzlies in a row, and you might rip off some. But we shall see. I'd gladly eat crow if they make it out of December. Still at 500, right? I think they're going to be in for a rude awakening, but that is just my opinion. LaMelo is also shooting 90% from the free throw line. Crazy. I mean, I don't think he'll keep it up, but that's just it. He does the little things. I like flashy passing. I like a guy looking more for the passing than rather taking 21 shots to score 19 points, but making sure that I get to my 19, 20 points per game, because that's what Anthony Edwards thinks, that scoring makes him a better player. I'm looking a little bit more outside of just dunks on SportsCenter. Let's talk a little college basketball. Again, speaking of way too early, I don't really have a read on many of the teams. Watching sporadic games here, some good games there, showcases. Duke looks great, but what do I know? I mean, it's still so early. Gonzaga, I think it's actually good that they got clipped. Now they don't have undefeated kind of hanging over them. Wisconsin into the top 25. That was my one future. It was 100-1. And now they're at 95-1 because they beat Houston, which is a big win, beat St. Mary's, they beat A&M. Nice. You'll also lose to Providence. Matthew Moore is a guy I was looking forward to seeing this year, the freshman. He redshirted, so he's not even playing this year, but it's a loaded Big Ten. Not really sure how they're going to do. I think, again, you're looking at that kind of 6, 7, 8, 9 seed for Wisconsin, and let's see if they can make a run there. That's a dangerous spot to make a run, especially for a Power 5 team with a decorated legacy. Johnny Davis, electric, 20-plus points per game. Davison has been fine. He's just one of those leader guys, 13 points per game, does everything. So, 100-1 to 95-1. Nice. All right, improvement. We'll see if they can keep it up. Last thing on the NFL, I forgot. Let's talk some running backs because it just broke literally in the last hour. Christian McCaffrey done for the year. Don't like seeing guys injured. I mean, it's a violent sport, the most violent position. Dalvin Cook injured again. Saquon still stinks. Don't pay running backs. Don't do it. Stop it. Jonathan Taylor, nice. You got him on a rookie deal. Let him walk. Get the next Taylor. Okay. Don't pay running backs. Saquon's going to be out of the league in a couple of years. C-Mac as well. Shit, I wouldn't be shocked for Dalvin Cook. It's just how the league goes. Unfortunately, don't pay running backs because that is just an injury, not even prone. It's like an injury proven position. Look at this dude. I picked up Hilliard for Tennessee. He rips off 120, a huge run. You know, those are the guys, just plug and play guys at running back. Speed. Don't lock in money there. That's an expendable position, unfortunately, but that's how the sport goes. Let's talk baseball because it's been a surprisingly active MLB hot stove, right? The offseason free agency is heating up because the Mets and Steve Cohen are spending. Does Steve Cohen know what he's doing, or is he just a Mets fan playing with toys? You know, he gives out a ton of money for Scherzer. I wanted Scherzer in a Cardinals uniform, maybe not for that much money, but I think he's going to do good stuff for the Mets. I mean, Scherzer and DeGrom in the same rotation. I mean, I guess it's the same thing as Scherzer and Strasburg, but that is going to be nasty. That's going to pay him 40 plus mil for the next 3 years until he's 41. I mean, it is Scherzer. He's a Hall of Famer, so we'll see. You know, he helps every team he goes to. He still puts up numbers. Starling Marte, 4 years. They dump money. Eduardo Escobar, 2 years. And they wanted Steven Matz. Like, you know, I think Steve Cohen's just firing darts in his expensive office, just saying, give me that guy. Give me that guy. I don't care. Here's my checkbook. I'm a Wall Street guy. He was pretty pissed that Steven Matz chose the Cardinals. I don't know what happened there. I mean, it's, you know, business. It's seedy. You got agents talking on the phone to 4 different people, giving assurances here, assurances there. I mean, welcome to the game, Steve Cohen. I would Steven Matz, the Cardinals, 4 years, 44 million. I don't know if it's just I'm kind of thinking Mike Leake. We're still trotting out Miles Michaelis after big money. Like we trade for J.A. Happ and Lester and Wade LeBlanc. We have John Lackey, who of course was actually a good trade acquisition at the deadline back in the day, but we're you know, we're more Flaherty's. Give me a Flaherty. I understand we have to draft these guys. I put this out on Twitter. We released Nick Plummer, who was our former first round pick in 2015. You know, we drafted him right in front of Walker Buehler. You think we could have had him in this rotation? Good Lord, who whiffed on that pick? And now Plummer's, guess where? In the New York Mets uniform. Just goes, who's that? He was a former first rounder. All right, yeah, give me him. Here's $500,000. Sign him too. You know, God, Cardinals. We got a new manager. You know, here's the rotation. It's Waino, Flaherty, and now Matz, Michaelis, and then freaking Jake Woodford is, you know, I hope is going to be good. He's another high round pick, but who knows? I mean, that doesn't really scare anyone. I like Waino's been having a renaissance kind of finish, aging like a fine wine to his career, but Lord, what, you know, we're just basically saying run it back, and then we'll probably bring on some crap veterans at the trade deadline and do nothing again. Yeah, Steven Matz doesn't move the needle for me. You know why? Because I don't like giving Matz. I like giving out flyers. You know, maybe a guy had a poor year, you take a flyer on him. I don't like Matz, who got a flyer right from the Blue Jays, had a great year. Then I don't want to be like, okay, great year. Here's 44 million, and then watch him underperform his contract. Like, what the hell are the Rangers doing? I love Marcus Semien. I don't love paying him 175 million over the next 7 years until he's 38, coming off a great year, right? Great year. Blue Jays taking another flyer. Semien, watch him walk. I think the Rangers drastically overpaid Semien. Maybe he has a great first year. I think that contract is going to look ugly in the few years to come. Maybe not 7. Shohei Ohtani, my favorite baseball player, wins the MVP unanimously, first place votes, 100% of them, 46 bombs. He's hitting. He's throwing 100 miles per hour. He's got the ERA. He's got strikeout, nasty stuff. He's the Japanese Babe Ruth. We didn't get to see Babe Ruth. We've got a folk tale of him pointing and hitting a home run. We're seeing this guy pitch and hit home runs. I love watching him play. I wish he wasn't on the Angels. He is under contract for 2 more years and then potentially becomes a free agent. No one's watching Angels games. I mean, they've failed Mike Trout. They are currently failing Ohtani. Ohtani is the greatest thing we have ever seen in baseball. Man, I want him. I want him on my team. I want him in the Cardinal uniform. I want to see more of them. Get him more national games. Ohtani wins the AL MVP. Bryce Harper, which I also predicted earlier on, wins the NL MVP. Nice for Bryce. Still doesn't have that World Series. Remember, as soon as he left Washington, they won the title. Philly, I still think, has not made the playoffs since he signed there, but Harper gets the hardware. He did have a great year. Girardi, Atlanta wins the title. We cash that future. But, they're going to have to, are they re-signing Freddie Freeman? They had most of their roster from the trade deadline. So it's like the Braves are just going to have to, they're going to have to fight again, right? To compete in that division now that the Mets kind of see blood in the water and they want to start spending. The Marlins, they just dump money to Abisail Garcia. Huh? Nice one, Jeter. I don't really think that's going to be the answer for Miami. And then there's Philly with Joe Girardi still just kind of playing 500 baseball and missing the postseason. But the MLB hot stove, a nice kind of refreshing change of pace as things are like deals are flying off the shelves. How about that? Scherzer to the Mets. That was the big one today. How about Lincoln Riley to USC? Unbelievable. He says, I'm definitely not going to be the LSU coach. Well, he wasn't wrong because he's definitely going to be the USC coach. He just landed. Smart move by him. Don't have to go compete in the SEC. You go from Norman, Oklahoma to LA. And you go to a spot that is the king of college football. If you could turn it around, you're the top of the game. Then you turn to Pete Carroll. You go to the NFL. Great career move for Lincoln Riley. I know it's cold cut business. It's unfortunate. That's what college football is now, that there's so much money pouring in. Now the players are getting paid too. The players have the transfer portal. So the coaches are viewing this as cold cut business too. And Lincoln Riley's landing in USC after losing a game in Bedlam and just saying, see ya. It's cold. It's cold hearted. It's kind of mercenary-esque. It's more business CEOs now. Saban's a CEO running a company. These players are more employees now than kind of just, football players. It's more of a cold cut business now. And we'll talk more with Coach Wollenzien about how he feels about that coming up here in just a couple minutes. But first, some BC thoughts. Jeff Hafley he was reported as USC's fallback option. That scares me. People respect Hafley in the industry, in the nation. Washington is still looking at him, but he has said he's staying to BC. Great. Love to take his word. And he looks like a guy that I should be taking his word, but you never know. You could be Lincoln Riley. Hafley said, I do not plan on leaving for a long time. Great. What if plans change? So I love Hafley. Again, it's a 6-6 disappointing loss, but the team was so injured. Our quarterback is throwing with an injured wrist. We've got players returning. Jaden Woodby said he's coming back. He was a transfer from Florida State, had a pretty solid year. He was injured, but he was a pretty solid kind of anchor for this defense from that safety spot. He just announced he's coming back. I think everyone runs it back, and we have a special season in store for Chestnut Hill. I thought the same this year. Injuries hurt that, and we had a disappointing 6-6, but let's see if we can get a nice bowl win there. The first bowl performance we're actually going to play under Hafley. We were the first team to opt out for the coronavirus last year, which I thought was a nice move by Hafley and company as well. So are we going to get Jurkovic back? Is he going to be healthy? Are we going to get Zay Flowers back, run it back for the senior year? I would love it. And I think Jaden Lars Woodby coming back is the first domino to possibly having that happen. So again, disappointing end, injury. Looking forward to next year. We got a great recruiting class coming in Jeff Hafley. I trust. # get in. Heisman predictions. I still like Bryce Young. Thank goodness. I wouldn't have liked it if he lost, but CJ Stroud loses. He's not going to get the chance to play in a bowl game. So I think that's going to hurt him because we're going to obviously keep our eyes on Bryce Young. Kenny Pickett's going to have a bowl game as Pittsburgh represents ACC against Wake Forest. So Kenny Pickett is my third guy right now because he's got more touchdowns than Bryce Young, but he's got more picks. He's got more yards, but Bryce Young is doing more and obviously has the 1-loss team where Pitt's a 2-loss team, and Pitt's not going to have really a stage in the college football playoff. Keep an eye on this guy, Bailey Zappi, not quite sure, but he's a Houston Baptist transfer, went to Western Kentucky. This dude's over 5,000 yards. He still could potentially break the NCAA record for passing yards and touchdowns. Joe Burrow's got the touchdown record. I always remember Colt Brennan, but I think he doesn't really have the passing yards. He needs 900 yards and I believe something like 8 passing touchdowns to break both records. Oh, yeah, and he's playing on Saturday because he'll face UTSA in the conference title game. So he's my 4th guy. He's got all these numbers because he's playing in a weaker conference and he's thrown about 100 more passes than everyone else. But the numbers speak for itself. It's crazy what this guy is doing. He's my 4th guy right now. I wonder if maybe he takes CJ Stroud's seat because we've got 3 guys playing this week, and CJ Stroud is not one of them. Those are my Heisman predictions. How about this? Is Cincy going to get screwed? They're undefeated. They play this weekend. Can they get by Houston, who lost game 1 to Texas Tech and then ripped off the last 11? Hey, good for Dana Holgerson and that company. Houston, no one talked about them. They could stun Cincinnati this week. I wouldn't be shocked. That line looks a little large for me. Houston, they lost to Texas Tech. Texas Tech was no slouch. I know they fired their coach, but they still clipped some teams, competed against others. Cincy, watch out if you take care of business. But in Oklahoma State, who just beat Oklahoma, if they beat Baylor, watch out. Bama beats Georgia. I don't know. Things are crazy. How about Michigan against Iowa? Are they going to lay an egg? That's a pretty steep line as well. I don't know. Conference championship weekend is going to be crazy. Good to be back. Corbet's Corner here on a Monday. We're not done yet, though. Let's talk with Coach Ben Wollenzien, head football coach of the TGU Titans, an old friend and colleague up from North Dakota. Let's get some insight on his career in coaching, the Husker football program direction under Scott Frost, his Husker fandom, right? The glory days, and much more as we talk the coaching carousel and overall college football with Coach Wollenzien right here. Well, this is super special. I think my first interview in the workforce out of college was with this guy right here. This is Coach Ben Wollenzien, head coach of TGU football up in North Dakota. Ben, it's been too long. First, a little bit about yourself for the audience and how you got into coaching.
Well, I grew up in Lisbon, North Dakota, and graduated from there in 1992. Went to college at Concordia for a year. Didn't like it. Decided to go back to Valley City State. Played some football there for 4 years, and went into teaching, and with the intent of getting into football coaching, and I applied for a job in Towner in late July, and I guess I was going to be here for a year or two, and now I'm in year number 25. So, I had 24 on the sideline at TGU, and really enjoying it.
Yeah, and you started, you've been with the program for now a couple of decades, right? And you started working your way up as an assistant and eventually taking over as the head reins.
Right. I started as an assistant in 1998 under Scott Thorson, who had taken over, who had served as an assistant under Harry Ranke from the early 90s till 1998. And then from 98 to 2016, I was with Scott as one of his guys. And so 19 years I was an assistant, and then just finished my 5th year as the head coach.
And I got to see you in a couple of those inaugural years up in Towner. So it's been cool to kind of watch you grow as a coach. What characteristics in your mind, and I've been loving picking your brain, over the years, but for the audience, what characteristics do you think make a good football coach?
One, I think you have to have thick skin. You have to be great at building relationships, and you have to show those kids that you love them, and show them that you care about them more as a person than you do as a football player. And I think that's one thing, and also you need to know about the game, obviously, but that's always been our goal here, is to send out kids that are top-notch people, and they're going to be good husbands and fathers and men in society, and if they get to play football beyond TGU, that's great. We've had our fair share of that, but as long as they're good people, that's what our thing is.
Yeah, that's the right way to do it. I agree. Yeah. What are some of the challenges you face on a year in, year out basis?
Well, small town North Dakota, right? I mean, you don't know from year to year, budget wise, what can I afford to get this year? Am I going to have to skimp to get by? Regions are constantly flopping and flipping. You've got teams moving up from or down from 11 man down to 9 man. You've got people moving from 9 man to 11 man. You've got different regions, all over the place. One year we're out west, one year we're in the east. It's just you just roll with it. And we're in a pretty familiar conference now. This last year we were with St. John, North Prairie, Dunseith, and boy, who else was in it? Dunseith, St. John, North Prairie, TGU. There's 5 of us. So, and then we played with a sister region to the east. So now next year, I believe we lose North Prairie in our region and gain West Hope, Newburgh, Glenburn's coming back down from 11 man. So, I mean, so there's always those challenges, getting to know some new teams. A few years back, we had a nice looking team. Shaden Luna would have been a senior that year. In about 2018 season, we moved out west and we're in with Ray Powers Lake, Divide County, Trenton, all that, way out that way. So it was, getting familiar with those people and their teams and their schemes and whatnot. So it was nice to be back kind of home, where you're used to the St. John's and the North Prairies and the Dunseiths and things like that. So yeah, it's cool.
It's almost like things out of your control, right? There's always some sort
of
politics.
Yeah. And it is what it is. You got a team like Botno, right? And it's nothing. I'm not digging on Coach Keller up there or anything. It's the fact that they've got way more students, say, than even a rugby. Rugby is playing 11 man single A. Botno hadn't had much success. They're not known for football, and they make a run to the to the semis. And so I don't know. It's just things like that are never ending.
You mentioned the Luna family. That's been real fun to watch. Those are some of the great kind of players that you got to coach and bring up. What are some of the players that have left that impact like you, like the Luna family?
It's fun. It was fun. Those Luna boys, they were all at daycare at my wife's daycare. So I've known them since they were little. You think of the Luna family, you think of kids like Garrett Bailey, Cody Fraunfelter. You think I have 11 seniors that are leaving our program this year, which is huge. And, we were picked to win the region and it just didn't go our way. We were hit by the injury bug, but you got kids like Brady Shook and Mason Jones who were young when you were around, Dylan. But it's just kids and each and every one of them, they've touched our lives in special ways. And they've taught me way more than I have probably ever taught them. All of them.
Awesome. This is head coach of TGU football, Ben Wollenzien. Ben, I didn't really get to talk with you about your experience with COVID. How challenging was that, kind of coaching your football team and then just really like the most unprecedented thing that you kind of couldn't even foresee coming into a locker room?
Right. For a while there, in the spring, we usually are raising money. So it's spring of 2020. My daughter Neely's a senior. They just got done playing basketball. We go a spring break, and then we don't go back to school the rest of the school year. They are allowed to graduate, but we normally go to team camp in the summer at Valley City State, and we weren't able to do that. We didn't really know until, say, mid-July, if it was going to be a thing. And even then, you're like, it's going to be day to day. Practice to practice, we're going to have to really take some precautions and our kids were good about masking up during school. They were good about doing that. And, we told them that if you're not feeling good, stay home. And we don't care if you have to stay home 3, 4, 5 days, stay home. And so that we can finish this thing the right way. And on our own terms and not have to be shut down. So you take a look at a team like St. John that year, they had a pretty nice outfit and they ended up forfeiting their playoffs because they got hit by it. So we were fortunate, knock on wood, where we didn't have to forfeit any games, but we did lose a couple. We didn't lose a couple, but what I mean is we lost a couple games on our schedule because of COVID.
Sure.
So, but no, the COVID was definitely a whole different beast to deal with, and I'm glad that we didn't have much of an issue with it this year. So it was interesting.
Right, certainly, yeah, and hopefully we're getting through it. So let's talk your Huskers fandom background. You had the heyday, right? Osborne, the 5 titles from '69 to his final swan song as head coach, right? But now it's been a little tougher times here in the 21st century, and specifically the last 10 years.
Yes. Yeah. I was a fan way back in the Mike Rozier era, right? I mean, I was little, and I can remember Saturday afternoons, right, watching Nebraska. And, I just kind of kept following it all the way up through. And one of the first years I was coaching, Coach Thorson and I went to a coaching clinic down in Fargo. Coach Tom Osborne was the keynote speaker. And I went to Shields the Shields Sporting Goods store and bought a Huskers hat, a white one. I had to be white because I wanted Coach to sign it. Well, I walked up to Coach Osborne, and he's a pretty tall man, and I was just shaking, right? And so I asked, Coach Osborne, would you please sign my hat? Oh yeah, he's a really soft-spoken gentleman, and so that was kind of fun getting to meet him, and as I followed along, followed the Bo Pelini era, it was terrible when that guy Callahan was awful. I thought that was not a good choice for them to follow. I believe he followed Osborne, if I'm not mistaken. No, Solich did. Solich did, and then it was Callahan. Anyway, Callahan was not a good fit there. But, Scott Frost, I can remember watching him as a player and thinking he was a pretty special guy. He did things the right way and led by example. And, I see a lot of stuff on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot about just bashing this guy, right? He's lost more games than Riley did and, blah, blah, blah. But here's the deal. And you and I visited briefly about this last night where, he's true to his word, and he said to keep believing. And he said that the kids are right there and that they need to believe even in what they are doing. And he said that they do. He took this job at Nebraska, came home, right?
Right.
But at the same time finished at UCF. And those guys at UCF knew, hey, man, coaches, we love Coach so much. We're willing to let him go and do this, right? He loves us enough to come back and coach us for this bowl game, and then we're going to let him go. And we wish him nothing but the best. And so they go out and I want to say they finished undefeated that year. UCF did, and then it takes some time to get his own guys in the system that fit his offense, fit his defense, scheme wise. And then you get, then it has to do with assistant coaches and coordinators. It all needs to, everything. I just use this as an example in my awards night speech last week that in order for something special to happen, things have to line up perfectly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same thing in college football or small town North Dakota 9-man football. Things have to line up perfectly. And I think he's got him on the right track. If people just believe in him. I mean, they gave up 238 and they scored 238 this year, I want to say. And man, yeah, the record shows that they were a bad team, but I think that they're just fine. I think they'll be just fine next year.
And exciting football, right? You gave some really good Big Ten teams kind of a scare in and out. I mean, Ohio State. Yeah,
Ohio State, Iowa, right? Iowa was ranked number 2 for a short time this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Purdue come in and knock you off and whatever. But I think that they're on the right track.
Right. So Frost, it's 4 years, and again, COVID threw a wrench into everyone's plans, I think, too. So you brought up Callahan, but that's my question is it's been this kind of tug and pull between a short leash for a coach, and then all of a sudden it looks like Frost is getting a little bit of that longer leash. The classes have been there, and again, he's been in every game, but the record, there's been no bowl game.
Right.
That has to hurt a little bit, but you still think coming ahead that he's got these guys going in the right direction. And I'm a full believer in giving a college coach at least 5 years to, as you said, get his guys in there.
Yeah. And, that bowl game is huge. And I know for the fans of Nebraska, right, it's a big thing. And for my 40th birthday 8 years ago, that ages me a little bit here, Dylan, but 8 years ago, my wife, Bree, she bought tickets for us to go to a game in Memorial Stadium in Lincoln. And that is something that I will never, ever forget. You have 90,000 plus people wearing red, on a windy day, cool, windy day, playing Illinois. And it's just something that, that they're a diehard fan base, man.
Yes.
I mean, they could be 2-8, or they could be 10-0, and you're still going to get 90,000 plus in that place, and they're going to be screaming their lungs out.
Yeah. No, I would definitely, that's on a bucket list for me, is to go there. I think that's one of the coolest.
Yeah, you have to.
Let's talk. We were chatting last night. Crazy coaching carousel in college football right now. Unprecedented.
That's something else.
What are your general thoughts? What have you made of the coaching carousel? I think the shocking news of course, has been Lincoln Riley jumping ship and going to USC.
Yeah, I that surprised me a little bit. So I think that I didn't see Lincoln Riley pulling the plug like he did. I talked about that last night where, what about those kids? Man, he's just recruited all season long. Mm-hmm. And what do you do with these kids that you are sitting at home in, Florida or California or Oklahoma or Nebraska or South Dakota, wherever he's recruited these kids from? Yep, I'm going to be here. I'm not going anywhere. And bam, you get beaten in Bedlam and you're out.
Right.
Are you scared of the SEC? Are you not happy in Oklahoma? More money? But I think it boils down to relationships. That's what torques me the wrong way with moves like that. Is that you try to build that bond with those kids, and those kids that are 18 to 24 years old, and then what? See that it's okay to bail on a guy, right? 100 guys, you're bailing on them. I just have a problem. I have a problem with that. I think that Lane Kiffin. And I don't know if you follow him at all on Twitter, but
yes.
But he was playing games down in Texas, whatever, and I think he's recruiting is what he's doing. I think he had some home visits yesterday, and so who knows if Lane Kiffin's going to stick around? I love his offense. We try to run the same kind of RPO stuff that he's running, and so I enjoy watching Ole Miss. I think he's an old gunslinger. So yeah. I think that it's only just begun, the carousel. I think that it's going to get wild before it gets leveled out. So
no kidding. I mean, Kiffin's a guy that's looking at maybe going to Miami, maybe going to LSU or staying put.
Right.
It's interesting. Yeah, last thing on that. So again, it's turned a little bit more corporate, where coaches are going to bigger and better jobs. You've got the transfer portal, where you do lack some of those ties that you said. What have you made of the transfer portal kind of just becoming the Wild West now all of a sudden?
Yeah, and I don't like it. Yeah. I think that if you're in a bad situation, if as a kid, as a college football player, if you're in a bad situation, you have personality issues. Maybe it's just not the right fit. Maybe the new coordinator came in and they're not running spread things anymore. But I think that the transfer portal can be a benefit to some teams. I think if they want to get, if they're looking for a lineman, and the lineman's third string, say at Michigan, and he transfers out to Central Michigan, man, he's a starter instantly. Right. NDSU's done that a little bit. They've started to dabble in that transfer portal a little bit. And I think that, it can work out and it might not. Exactly. You take a look at a great example is Quincy Patterson, transfers from Virginia Tech to the Bison. And now right now you've got, the kid that NDSU actually recruited start.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always work.
Right. True. Head coach of TGU football, Ben Wollenzien, an old friend and old colleague. Good to get you on the podcast. We'll get you out of here with this. What are your thoughts on the college football playoff? It's been crazy. Is Cincinnati going to get the rude awakening, or do they finally deserve it this year?
I think they deserve it. I've been saying that on Twitter all year long. I think that Cincinnati deserves that spot. They've done a nice enough job. I think that their coaching staff has done a nice job there. They've won some big games. Their record is indicative of belonging. And I would be stunned if they don't, put it that way.
Yeah, a lot of things can happen with the Wild Conference Championship ahead too. Coach Wollenzien at Coach Wollenzien on Twitter. We'll tag him there as well for the podcast today. Coach, great to talk with you. Hope the Huskers
same
around. We've got a big signing day coming up, right?
Yeah. Well, and if you land some tickets for Lincoln, let me know. I'll drive down.
We'll have to do that, of course. Yes, we'll take in Memorial Stadium. Appreciate it, Ben. Thanks for the time.
Hey, appreciate it, Dylan. Thanks a lot. You guys have a great rest of your day.